Late at night in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the streets were quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like the world is exhaling after a long day. Traffic lights blinked lazily from red to green, washing the empty roads in soft color. Jamal Winslow was driving home after dinner with colleagues. He wasn't thinking about work, justice, or anything bigger than a warm shower and some sleep. His shoulders felt loose, his mind calm, a rare moment where he wasn't carrying the weight of the world as a federal prosecutor. Then he saw the flashing lights in his rearview mirror. His stomach dipped. Not fear, annoyance. That deep, exhausted disappointment only someone who has lived this experience again and again can truly understand. He signaled, slowed down, and pulled over. He hadn't been speeding. He hadn't run a light. He hadn't done anything wrong. But Jamal had long learned that doing nothing wrong rarely mattered. Two officers approached. Officer Kyle Driscoll, tall and broad, boots heavy against the pavement. Officer Brent Kessler, thinner, but with the same hard stare, a stare that wasn't looking for truth, just looking for a reason. "License and registration," Driscoll demanded. Jamal handed everything over calmly. "May I ask why I was stopped?" "Your taillight's out," Driscoll said. It wasn't. Jamal knew it wasn't. He had literally seen the reflection in the rearview mirror moments earlier. "Are you sure about that?" Jamal asked, voice steady. Driscoll didn't like that. His expression tightened. Kessler drifted closer, one hand resting on his belt like a silent threat. Then Driscoll leaned in. "Sir, step out of the vehicle." Jamal felt a slow dread coil in his gut. Not fear, recognition. This wasn't a stop. This was a setup. "I'm within my rights to ask why I'm being ordered out of my car," he said. Kessler smirked. "Because we said so." That was all it took for everything to explode. Driscoll yanked the door open, grabbed Jamal's wrist, pulled him forward so hard his seatbelt dug into his shoulder. "What the hell are you doing?" Jamal barked. But they didn't answer. They just escalated, hands rough, cuffs biting into skin, muttering the same poisonous lines crooked cops always used. "You're resisting. We feared for our safety. You forced our hand." Within minutes, Jamal was shoved against the hood of his own car, heart pounding with rage, not fear. He had fought these cases for years, but now he was living it, and they thought they had already won. The courtroom was packed. East Baton Rouge Parish Courthouse buzzed with whispers and paper shuffling. But underneath the routine hum, something heavier simmered. Tension, injustice, anticipation. Jamal sat at the defense table, posture straight, jaw tight. Not as a prosecutor, not as a man with power. Today, he was a defendant. Resisting arrest, obstruction, disorderly conduct, fabricated, every single charge. Judge Margaret Holloway presided, a woman with a reputation for being firm, which everyone knew was code for something else. And she barely glanced at Jamal. He already knew what that meant. The prosecutor, Richard Calloway, walked with smug confidence. He nodded at Driscoll and Kessler, who sat proudly like lions waiting for applause. "This is a simple case. The defendant escalated a routine stop into a confrontation." Jamal felt heat rise in his chest, the arrogance, the lies, the absolute confidence that the system would protect them. His lawyer, Thomas Rivera, tried. He objected. He pushed. He insisted there was no body cam footage because the officers never turned them on. But Judge Holloway dismissed every attempt with a flick of her hand. She didn't care. Not yet. Driscoll took the stand first, voice smooth, rehearsed, dripping with lies. Kessler followed, adding his own fabricated details, nodding along like they were reciting a script they'd practiced for years. Jamal sat there, fists clenched under the table. Every word cut deeper. This wasn't incompetence. This was intentional. This was systemic. Finally, Rivera stood. "The defense calls Jamal Winslow." Jamal rose, walked to the stand, felt every eye track his steps. Calloway paced arrogantly. "Did you comply with officers' instructions?" Jamal kept his voice calm. "I asked why I was being ordered out of my car. That is not illegal." Calloway smirked. "And you refused to exit." "I asked for a lawful reason," Jamal repeated. Calloway rolled his eyes and turned to the judge, but Jamal leaned forward. "Before we continue, I should disclose something." The room stilled. Even Judge Holloway looked up. Jamal reached into his briefcase, slowly, deliberately. Rivera tensed, not knowing what was coming. Jamal pulled out his badge, held it up. His voice didn't shake, it didn't waver. "I'm Jamal Winslow, Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District." Silence detonated through the courtroom. Calloway froze. The judge's jaw tightened. Driscoll and Kessler went pale. Calloway whispered, "You're a federal prosecutor?" "That's what the badge says." And just like that, their entire case collapsed. Because now, this wasn't just another defendant. This was someone with power, visibility, and national connections. Someone who could and would fight back. Judge Holloway knew the stakes. If she buried this case, she wouldn't survive the fallout. Jamal spoke again. "I request dispatch logs from the night of the arrest." Driscoll flinched. Kessler's knee bounced. They knew those logs would prove they lied. Judge Holloway hesitated, but she couldn't deny it. Request granted. And that was the beginning of the end. The story exploded across Louisiana within hours. A young reporter in the back had already been typing furiously. Clips went viral. The moment Jamal raised his badge became national news. Protests erupted outside the courthouse. Civil rights attorneys dug into Judge Holloway's history. Old cases resurfaced. Whispers turned into proof. Then, someone leaked internal police emails, messages between officers discussing how to justify false stops. It wasn't just Jamal anymore. It was a pattern, a system. City officials panicked. Police leadership scrambled. Judge Holloway stopped answering calls. They were cornered. When Jamal returned for the verdict, Judge Holloway looked different. No more arrogance, just fear and calculation. She cleared her throat. "After reviewing the evidence, the court finds the defendant not guilty." Reporters exploded into typing. People gasped. The officers froze. But the judge wasn't done. "All case materials will be forwarded to the state attorney's office for further review," meaning Driscoll, Kessler, Calloway, even the judge herself, were all under investigation. Careers ended in that instant. Jamal stood slowly, not triumphant, not victorious, just aware. Aware of how close he came to being another forgotten name. Aware of how many others didn't get this chance. When he walked outside, camera flashes lit the air. Reporters shouted questions. Protesters cheered. The story had become a movement. But Jamal didn't smile. Because he knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of people refusing to look away.